What is up, guys? Mcdoubles back here with a brand new video. Today I want to go over all of the new abilities, 15 of them coming with League 4 on Project Ascension tomorrow, and this is really interesting. There's a lot of really interesting ones coming out, very, very powerful, a lot of them from the Cataclysm and Post era. What I want to do is go over them today. I want to point out synergies, legendary enchants, epic enchants they might go with, look at the talents, the new ones they might go with. We'll talk about it, and then at the very end, I'm going to give a tier list of my prediction for how good these abilities are going to be in the meta overall, right? Among themselves. And so we'll go from S tier to D tier and we'll talk about why. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's jump right in. Okay, guys, we are on the test server right now. I've got a level 60 character, and we can look at all of the new abilities that are coming out with League 4 in a couple days as of this recording. Now, I can put it up on the screen right now. We have the following abilities that we're going to be looking at today, and we'll look at some ways to make them work as well as some nitty-gritty stuff that we won't know based on just the article or the video we watched for the announcement, such as what Roll the Bones actually does. So we have Flame Ascendance, Cloudburst Totem, Divine Star, Frozen Orb, Meteor, Mass Invisibility, Gloomblade, Angelic Feather, Grappling Hook, Roll the Bones, Ironfur, Light of Dawn, Flourish, Sundering, and Void Eruption. So I say we just break it down, do it by alphabetical order. We go Angelic Feather, Cloudburst, Divine Star, Flame Ascendance, Flourish, Frozen Orb, Gloomblade, Grappling Hook, Ironfur, Light of Dawn, Mass Invisibility, Meteor, Roll the Bones, Sundering, and Void Eruption in that order. So let's begin, starting off in the Priest tree with Angelic Feather. So right here, so it's a legendary, first of all. This is still potentially interesting because if you play free pick mode, there is going to be limitations, I can only imagine. So let's go ahead and pick that. Let's check it out. Okay, so Angelic Feather, let's check this out. So you could plop feathers on the ground. I believe this came with Cataclysm, so I did one. I popped it on myself. It was an immediate 40% speed increase. As far as I can tell, there really aren't going to be many builds to look at in regards to Angelic Feather. It's just a speed increase with multiple charges. Although, interestingly enough, let's see. Okay, so I can use it right there. Okay, yeah, it's exactly what you would think from Cataclysm. That is cool. And you can just keep plopping it down, right? And just keep on going. So for flag capping, this is actually pretty solid, you know? You don't even have to use it on yourself. You can use it on somebody else. Super cool in that regard, you know? It doesn't look like it's going to be too expensive either as a legendary because we're playing on free pick, so you can basically get whatever you want. So yeah, I think that's actually going to be pretty cool. Okay, what's up next? So we have Cloudburst Totem, okay. Enhancement Shaman, maybe? Okay, we have Cloudburst Totem, right? So this is interesting. I really don't even know how to perceive this one right off the bat. It looks like it's going to be AoE healing, though. So this collects the power from all of your healing spells. I don't think this specifies anything, but the next portion of it will, so that's interesting. So it says when the totem expires, the stored power is released, healing all injured allies within 40 yards for 30% of all nature healing done, divided evenly among all of the targets. So it says casting this spell a second time, I guess using Cloudburst Totem release right here, will actually release the healing on everybody early, I guess, and gets rid of the totem. So you have a good 15 seconds to let this basically build up. So you pop it, you pop all your cooldowns, you go hard on healing, then you know, let it burst, and boom, everybody gets healed. That could be interesting. I do feel like for Ascension, it feels like that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like that's a lot of setup, but if it's powerful enough, it could be really, really good. I'm not a healer main, so let's just give it a quick try and just see how it functions out. Okay, so you plop the totem, and I have to go with a rank 4 healing wave right now, so we go for that. And we have a good 15 seconds, as I said, although a little bit less because we're a little late right there. We just keep popping this. The number you see won't be crazy. It looks like you don't have to do double bind because when you pop the first one, it immediately turns to the second one. So we'll just let it go itself. Okay, 23s on everybody. That was interesting, actually, because if you really think about it, like, let's say you're playing, let's say, first of all, that it wasn't actually barred to nature damage only, because actually both tooltips are a little bit misleading right now. One of them specifies, the other one does not. But even if it is just nature only, what you could do is you plop the totem, right? You immediately start going hard on the single target, and then bam, everybody basically goes up maybe to full HP. It's only on a 1-minute cooldown, and so yeah, that's gonna be really, really cool for healers. Okay, anyway, next up, Divine Star. Let's check that out. Where is that gonna be? Is that gonna be, let's see, is it a pally spell? Let's see, Divine. All right, I got it. Okay, let's see, Divine Star. Let's see. Okay, Divine Star, 20-second cooldown, fires a Divine Star in front of you, traveling 30 yards, heals all allies within 5 yards of its path. When it reaches its destination, it blows up and it heals everybody. Okay, let's check that out. Oh, it comes back. Oh, that is cool, dude. I would so want to use that one, man. So they're adding a bunch of AoE healing, which is just going to be like so solid for healers overall. Just all sorts of different stuff. Cloudburst Totem and now Divine Star. I really like it. So the first three were supporty and healing abilities. It's really, really hard to quantify that. Like, how good are they? Like, well, it looks like they're pretty good. Cloudburst Totem seems like it could be really, really nutty, to be honest with you. And Divine Star could too on a really low cooldown, you know? I mean, it's basically boomeranging. And so if people stay put or you have melee, let's say, that you throw it on, they're gonna get a lot of healing, man, like a lot. But okay, we're moving on to the first DPS one now, right? Flame Ascendant. Okay, this should be sick. Is it elemental? There it is, Flame Ascendance. You surrender your physical form to the power of the elements, transforming into a being of raw elemental energy for 15 seconds. I cast Flame Shock on up to 10 nearby enemies when I use it now with this, and Chain Lightning is transformed into Lava Beam. The cooldown of Lava Burst is also reduced by 50%. So the first thing I'm thinking is that Flame Ascendance could potentially make its own little lava spec right then and there by itself. You have to ask yourself, is there going to be any support at all? Because you can already see, like, Divine Star, I didn't even notice this, but it does actually have talents that support it. So what about Flame Ascendance, right? No, it looks like there's nothing yet. So it's still going to be a 2-minute cooldown, but when you pop it, you flame shock 10 targets, dude. And then you just start spamming the freaking Chain Lightning, which is now Lava Beam. It looks like it does a massive amount of fire damage too, and it's basically the same thing as Chain Lightning in that regard. So that is very fascinating. I think that's going to be super duper strong. Now, what is it good for? I don't know. Like, are there any fire specs that might actually use like Flame Shock? Oh my god, it could be like the brand new Elemental Destruction, maybe? Maybe even the Elemental Lord. That actually makes a lot more sense, to be honest with you. You could go like Elemental Lord with the Flame Shock and everything else you need for this spec. But I guess the main point here is that if you Flame Shock 10 targets, you're more likely to reset the cooldown of Lava Burst and just keep throwing it out. On top of the Lava Beam, which I'm assuming should have a cooldown. Let's double check that if we can. Okay, so this is Flame Ascendance. It's exactly like the same thing from Kata. Let's check if Lava Beam has a cooldown and also the animation really quickly. It does have a cooldown, 7 seconds. Okay, so that actually does make some sense. You can still throw out lava bursts, and so that will make some sense. So you can go for like, you know, the lava beam, the flame shock hitting 10 guys. Lava bursts are just like flying out, resetting the cooldown. That's actually insane. So yeah, look out for the Elemental Lord spec with that. That might actually be really good. Okay, next up, we have an ability called Flourish. I think that's actually a rogue ability, right? It is a druid ability. What? Oh, okay, like literally to flourish. For some reason, I thought it was some kind of like funny combat rogue finesse type thing, right? Okay, so it's a 1.5 second cast, 15-second cooldown. Lots of these are healing abilities right off the bat, which is really great for healers. They do deserve more. Let's just be honest about it. Heals a friendly target for basically a decent amount, and increases all healing done by your nature healing over time effects by 100% for 4 seconds. Also, it's on a really low cooldown of 15 seconds. Okay, wow. So the idea, of course, is that you can go for like rejuve, you can go for regrowth. It's only nature though, so the Riptide might work on it as well, which is a very interesting concept. So first of all, let me use it without anything on me. There we go. And so you can see I have the buff. So it's just like a normal heal in that regard if you don't have any like healing over time effects. Next though, we're going to set ourselves up. So let's go for the regrowth, the rejuve, the Riptide. We see how it's healing 181s, 9s, and 5s. They're low rank. 81, 9, and 5 instead. Now we go for this. Okay, now what do we see? 162, 18, 9, or 10. Oh my god. That's a massive difference, dude. It's literally double. I mean, it's what it's supposed to be. I mean, it wasn't actually double for these, but I'm sure as they scale up, it'll actually look a lot better. That's so crazy though. The Riptide really was nuts. So Flourish and Riptide, dude. So if there are any healing over time specs, and I know there are, let's just try like Rejuve. What do I get? Like Seed of Life, Blooming Growth. What about Riptide specs, right? Low Tide, Mending Tide, Disciple of the Tides, maybe. Oracle of the Eclipse. That might not even be in the game. Is that even in the game? Maybe that's one of the new ones. Yeah, I think that's one of the new ones actually. So anything like that with a healing over time nature focus, maybe specifically like the Mending Tide, that's going to be really interesting, dude. Healers getting some love that they truly deserve. Okay, I do like that so far, but next up we have Frozen Orb. Okay, another DPS one. This is an actual goodie, by the way. Lots of people love this when they play Frost Mage on retail. So 40-second cooldown, instant cast. Launch a Frozen Orb forward from the caster's position. It does frost damage to everybody in AoE for 8 seconds and slows people by 25%. Now, the first thing I think about, and by the way, you can see Flourish does have multiple different talents that work with it. But the first thing I think about is, does Frozen Orb have any talents that work with it? Like, let's say, oh, it doesn't actually have what I thought it would have, which was Fingers of Frost. But it does work with Brain Freeze, interestingly enough. You could Frozen Orb and then shoot out fireballs. When is Frost Firebolt coming out, man? Do we have to wait for Wrath for that for real? I guess they have to save some stuff for Wrath, but I really love that ability. I think a lot of people were kind of hoping that Frozen Orb would actually give you Fingers of Frost procs. Now, this is interesting. Anytime you cast Frostbolt or Ice Lance with Chilled to the Bone, it now no longer only reduces the cooldown of Deep Freeze, it now reduces the cooldown of Frozen Orb as well, which I believe from when I played my mage on retail recently on Dragonflight, that's like the same type of thing. It's at least one option you can take, and I really liked that option because because Frozen Orb on retail is extremely fun for Frost Mage in my opinion. You can also, let's see, reduce the cooldown by a solid 20%. I guess the wonder is, do the enchants work on this as well? Cold as. Okay, they haven't set it up, or maybe it's just not in the tooltip yet to work with Frozen Orb, but I was thinking like, can I get like a freaking 20 or 15 second Frozen Orb? Now you can get the Winter's Chill procs off this though, right? So increase crit on everybody. I actually think this is going to be pretty sick. Let's go ahead and learn it though, and let's actually look at it. I know what it looks like, but maybe you don't. Let's shoot it at those wolves over there. All right, boom. Oh, what the hell? Why'd it go that way? Where's it going, dude? Where's the Frozen Orb go? Dude, it's just going. It just went so far, dude. It actually had an interesting, like, and by interesting, I mean, like, not the animation that I thought is what I was going to say. Like, the animation, I expected more twirly stuff. Let me try it again. Now, obviously, this is going to go good with any spec that uses Frostbolt, Ice Barrage, maybe, even though that's been changed in the last 6 months. Frozen Chaos has Frostbolt in it. Frost Bomb, though, I feel like that's it right there for sure. Because Frost Bomb, you place the Frost Bomb, you Frostbolt, it does AoE, you Frost Orb before that. Your AoE's, yeah, actually, that's it. That's actually it. Your AoE is going to be nuts. In fact, that might actually be what Frost Bomb would need to really go ape shit, to be real with you. Like, obviously, I'm looking at things I've played before. Maybe Hydromancer could use it with the Water Bolt. It might synergize, right? I think Water Bolt should count in all regards as a Frost Bolt. Anyway, let's see. Okay, so interestingly enough, it's just kind of floating there, and it's like frozen, obviously, but there's no twirly stuff like you see on retail. And I'm very attuned to that because I definitely played a crap ton of Mage recently on Dragonflight, so I specifically loved Frost Mage. Still, though, it does have a slow on it, and it does look like it's going to have great synergy with Frozen Bomb, so I like that a lot. I'm not really too sure if Frostbolt needs help, especially not in PvP, but maybe for PvE, yeah, it does. I can't remember the last time I saw it, although I haven't been on Ascension that much in like 3 months. Okay, let's move on down. Next up, Gloomblade should be sub-rogue, right? But on Ascension, it looks like it's a dagger requiring shadow spell, and this is going to change the whole game, by the way. Mostly because typically you have to use an enchant to actually get a shadow-based melee ability. They have added 2 over time, right? So initially we had, let's see, the one that goes from Sunder Armor. I think it's called literally Sunder Soul. This was the very first addition to the shadow melee side of things outside of just being in Metamorphosis, but it wasn't too great overall. Actually, it was pretty bad. Sadly, right? Like, I think a lot of people wanted it to be good. Now, I don't actually think there's a second one like I thought. I think it's more like you use Sinister Strike, and you can use it with Master of Shadows. You do extra shadow damage on your SS. You can go for things like, let's see. I don't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. There it is. Shadow Strikes, right? So, okay. Nightfall has a chance to trigger from melee damage abilities. This also makes it to where Consuming Nightfall, which is a Shadow Bolt, by the way, increases shadow and physical damage by 3% and gives 80 energy, basically 10 energy every second. So you could go for an interesting little rogue spec. Does Gloomblade work with Master of Shadows? Or is that only SS? It's only SS. Does anything actually work with Gloomblade? Opportunity actually works with Gloomblade. Okay, so they have thought about this a little bit. It's important to keep in mind, guys, that you have to assume anything like this that was put in the game does have a viable spec. They are testing for that, so something's going to work with Gloomblade. Personally, my first impression of this is that it's very strong. 150% weapon damage as Shadow, and it gives the Gloomblade effect on your target for 8 seconds, causing melee abilities to trigger additional shadow damage. So, you don't even have to keep using it, right? The fact of the matter is, you can Gloomblade and then go Master of Shadows and just spam SS, and it's just going to keep doing even more shadow damage, and it's just every 8 seconds that you have to think about it. Now, what's the downside? You have to use daggers. With traditional Master of Shadows, I'm not sure if you were using daggers. I highly doubt it. But this is going to be a very fascinating ability. I think Master of Shadows is the only spec I can think of right off the bat that might actually work with this. Of course, we played that a couple times, but not to too great of effect. I don't think it's ever been that good. Maybe it had like a little bit of a PvP renaissance at one point, but personally, I never recall seeing this in PvE. So maybe Gloomblade is what it needs for like more single target, but I think that's what its strong suit was, right? I think AoE was the downfall of Master of Shadows. We'll see though. Gloomblade does look really cool, but let's go ahead and test it real quick and see how it looks. Might look cool. I am hoping for a solid animation on this one. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. I was about to say, is it just a backstab? But look. Wait, it looked like a backstab there. Is there a little bit of a shadow effect? Huh. There's no shadow effect. I kind of hope they change that. I hope there's going to be a shadow effect, because that's not a Gloomblade animation look to me. That's more of like a front backstab. But hey, it might be changed. Still a couple days. It's still cool. All right, let's move on to the next one. The next one is going to be Grappling Hook, a rogue ability, another one, right? This is going to be super simple. It's a legendary 40-second cooldown. Launch a grappling hook and pull yourself to the location. Okay, right off the bat. Can I use this to go up there? Or did they account for this type of stuff, right? So let's see. This is like the best part of playing with something like this. Can I go over there? No path available. Can I go over there? No path available. Right there? No path available. They planned around it. Or maybe it's just this one area. Let's see if we can go over there on that roof. First of all, I'll use it just to get over there faster. Oh, interesting. Remember, they have the finagle this one. Okay, that was like a abomination chain hook. Now, I will say, out of all the private servers that often have to finagle their new abilities, Ascension does do the best job, so I'm not hating on it at all. I guess I should also preface this by saying that I'm on the test realm, and I guess it is theoretically possible that there's like a slightly better, more updated version that they have that they're going to get ready to launch on 26. Maybe I'm not playing with perfect stuff all the time, but anyway, let's see. Can I go up there? No path available. So the pathway that they did for Grappling Hook makes it seem like it's just going to be like another heroic leap. It's not going to be what I thought it was going to be, which is a way to like play with the game world. I mean, can I even go on that hill over there? No. Oh, that's going to be a big disappointment to people, sadly. Okay, I was able to go up. Okay, maybe it's not going to be a disappointment because I was actually able to go up to this place and this wasn't runnable like normal. Let me just double check that so nobody says, bro, you could have just ran up there, so it's bad. Can I run up there? No, it literally put me through the hill and up there. So, okay, there will be some ways, we'll try it one more time, but some ways to finagle this, and that's the exciting part of this ability because there are way better mobility options out there. Although maybe one of the build drafts is only using Grappling Hook, I don't know. I kind of hope so. But anyway, does anything actually synergize with the Grappling Hook and the talents? I doubt it, right? Yeah, nothing. Again, this is not something you build around. It's something you, oh, momentum. Your Grappling Hook grants you additional momentum, increasing movement speed by 40% and increasing rogue damage ability damage by 10% for 8 seconds. So after using Grappling Hook, you do more damage. Okay, now suddenly it has a purpose. Because if you think about literally any build in the game that uses rogue abilities, and you think about 8 seconds of 10% more damage, suddenly that's actually BIS. You have to think about this from like any perspective, quite frankly. Like, you could take Heroic Leap, maybe you wouldn't want it over Blink or something for PvP, but for PvE, you have a lot of finagle room when it comes to your mobility spells. So Grappling Hook's going to be extremely good for literally any spec that uses rogue abilities as their main source of damage. And plus, like I said, there's a little bit of extra movement speed there, but it does cost an epic enchant. But like I said, 10% more damage for 8 seconds sounds like a very above average epic enchant if the majority of your damage are rogue abilities. Okay, one more time. I just want to see it one more time. Okay, it's interesting. You literally throw a chain. Okay, I'll take it. What's next, guys? We have Ironfur. Gotta have bear form for that, right? Go ahead and make sure we get the bear form. Okay, here it is right here. Reduce damage taken by 4% plus an additional 4% per active application for 6 seconds. Each application has an individual duration. Weird, right? Max of 3 charges, 10-second recharge timer. Okay, so I'm not a bear pro. Okay, let's see. Ironfur, little animation. Okay, nice. It's going around me. I could do it again. Oh, wait, no, not enough rage. Oh, no. I need enrage real quick to make this easier. I want to see if I have 2 separate versions of it on the top right. Okay, I built up some rage, and so let's see. Do I have 2 separate ones, or do they stack to some degree? They do stack, so you just keep renewing it. So you would just want to use this right before it goes away, and then refresh it, and it actually will renew the duration, and you'll keep taking less damage. That's very interesting. I mean, it's a tiny bit, and then it's a little bit, and then it's an okay amount at 12% total, but it looks like it's going to be up a lot, and so maybe bears could really use that, so good for them. It's always good when you get new abilities, and all of them seem to apply to all sorts of random stuff and not just like one type of gameplay. So far, we have AoE caster stuff. We have melee stuff for like rogues. We have hybridy stuff potentially with the Gloomblade. We have feral druid stuff, healing stuff as well. All right, next up, guys, Light of Dawn. I actually really enjoy this ability. I remember when it came out in Cataclysm, it makes me very happy. Holy Pallies were all about just that single target with the beacon of light, and then suddenly they could go like that. Oh, it's a little nice prism effect. It's beautiful. It's exactly what I remember it as. But it unleashes a wave of holy energy, healing up to 5 nearby targets in a 15-yard conal range. Okay. Oh, wow. That's a solid amount of healing and a beautiful animation once again. All right, one more time. Let's face it, actually. I wish it was freaking daytime, dude. All right, here it is one more time. Okay, so it's actually a little wonky because it comes out of your chest. So based on the way the human fights, it's like going this way. I'm sure it still hits the right people, but that's still really cool. It's a perfect little animation. All right, next up, mass invisibility. That could be interesting. It's going to be pretty much amazingly good for M+, and you're always going to want somebody with it. That's the way to skip stuff if nobody in your party has any good stuff to skip with, right? And that happens quite a lot, although it should happen less in free pick if you really think about it. There it is, legendary. Everybody within 40 freaking yards is invisible. That includes your entire raid. What the hell? While invisible, you can see other invisible people. Removes invulnerabilities when used. Shares a cooldown with vanish and invisibility, as it should. Nice. Oh my god. Of course, right now it's just normal invisibility. Oh, it's super short duration, by the way. 5 seconds. I mean, I said it, but now that I saw it, really short. You know what? That could be pretty sick. That could be pretty interesting the way that you play that. By the way, does anything actually go with Light of Dawn in terms of talents? Oh, a new dawn, a new talent. 30% more healing from this. With the final rank, targets healed by Light of Dawn receive increased healing from Holy Light or Holy Shock. I love that. Okay, what about Mass Invisibility? Okay, thank God. I don't see anything reducing the cooldown for that. What about Ironfur? Did that have something? No, it didn't have anything. Okay, so we're moving on to Meteor. Oh, I couldn't wait to get to this one, dude. Meteor. Dude, I freaking love Mage on Dragonfly. I really enjoyed it. I was gonna do 0 to hero. I think I got to like a 16 and I was pretty sad. I wanted to go to 20, but I really just didn't have enough time because I don't stream, right? So I couldn't justify the grind, which is sad because like I said, I really enjoyed it, but I wanted Fire to be good so bad, but the way Fire plays on Dragonfly is really awful, to be real with you. If you haven't tried it, it's really bad. But Meteor is not. It's not even Fire specific on retail anymore. I don't know if it ever was, but it's not now. But here it is. Look at this. Where is it? Oh, oh, oh! Oh, that is sick, dude. Okay, so it still looks badass even on Ascension. Call down a Meteor. It lands after 3 seconds. It does fire damage, split evenly between all targets within 8 yards, but it then burns the ground, doing more damage over 6 seconds on a 40-second cooldown. Yeah, so fire builds, caster types, they're going to be very happy with this. You have to think with the new hybridization changes, like this is not necessarily a caster build only type of thing. This could be comboed with all sorts of stuff, like Lava Lash, like Lava Sweep, actually. Maybe even Molten Earth. Oh my goodness, dude. I don't even want to imagine that getting any better when it comes to the intellect version. Okay, let's see. Okay, here it is. So one more Meteor. Let's just check it out. And that's a dead wolf. Okay, pretty sick, dude. Okay, let's move to the next one. This one's actually very interesting. Roll the bones, okay? So, like, how does this work? Is it the same as retail? It can't possibly be, but let's check it out. Combat Rogue. There it is, an epic ability, 45-second cooldown. Roll the dice, providing a random lesser or great combat enhancement for 10 seconds. Only one enhancement can be active at the same time. Okay. First of all, does it have the awesome animation? Oh, it actually does, surprisingly. And I've got lesser skull and crossbones, increase the damage of eviscerate and dispatch by 5%. Increase attack speed by 7%. Okay. Now, the weird thing about this, though, is like, how good is this really going to be? I mean, you can't really just keep using it on a 45-second cooldown. Are there any talents that affect it? Roll the bones. Aggression. Wow, there's a capstone bonus on aggression now that says the final rank of this talent says your finishing moves reduce the cooldown of roll the bones by 2 seconds per combo point used. So 10 seconds with 5 combo points. So you're going to be able to spam this like crazy, actually. And now suddenly everything makes sense. No enchants as far as I can see. Let's look at it again. Same concept. Okay, let's see if we can get a different buff at least one time. All right, roll the bones again, though. Let's see. Buff. Okay, we got a new one. Greater Buried Treasure. Increase melee and ranged attack power by 5%. Increase your energy by 20%. Oh, wow. And actually, that wasn't 5% AP. That looked like it was a messed up modifier. Could have been more. Okay, at least one more time. Okay, we got something new. Awesome. Greater Ruthless Precision. Increase crit by 8%. Give finishing moves a 20% chance to retain all combo points. Oh my god. Okay, so that's going to be really strong. There's a bunch of cool stuff for Rogue. But we only have a couple more to go, so let's go ahead and make it happen. So we have 2 more. Sundering is a shaman ability coming up next. Now, this should be really, really interesting. I mean, between this and Meteor and stuff for things like Molten Earth and also for Lava Sweep, so shadow a line of earth in front of you on a 45-second cooldown, incapacitating enemies for 2.5 seconds, and doing fire damage. I mean, also with like the flame ascendance, this is nuts. Okay, let's go ahead and check it out. All right, on this wolf, right? So, boom. Oh my god, it's exactly what you would want it to look like. Pretty cool. Okay, one more time. Sundering, right? There we go, 26. Okay. So the damage doesn't look like it's going to be nuts, because if you just compare it to some of the other things, I mean, maybe it'll scale better, but 26 on a crit right there, kind of low, right? We'll see. It might end up being a lot better than I think. Does anything synergize with it, though? So Enhanced Weapon Mastery now reduces the cooldown by 15 seconds, so you're going to actually have this on a, okay, a 30-second cooldown. That's a lot better. But really, like, right off the bat, it has the same synergy as any other new fire ability, right? Molten Earth, like I said, Lava Sweep. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, we have one more ability. Void Eruption. Shadow Priest? Yes, it is. Okay. 1 minute cooldown, 1.34 second cast. Release an explosive blast of pure void energy, causing shadow damage on up to 10 enemies within 10 yards of your target. The power drawn from the void increases periodic Shadow Priest damage by 20% for 5 seconds. Increased by half a second for every enemy hit. So if you hit 10 enemies, let's just say, it's 5 extra seconds. You have 20% more Shadow Priest damage for 10 seconds. Now, while in shadow form, this spell also applies Shadow Word Pain. Oh my god. All right, let's check that out. Okay. So first of all, Shadow Word Pain without this buff is how much damage right now? A 13 crit or 9 no crit. Now I Void Eruption. Oh, it killed them all. Wow. See what I mean? Compared to Sundering, that was massive damage. But in the time being, does anything actually go with this? Wow, okay, something does. It's called Void Touched Mind. That's a new name for this, I believe. Mind Blast, Mind Flay, Mind Sear do 9% more damage and cost 15% less mana. Wow, that's a massive buff to Shadow Priest. Holy crap, this capstone bonus. With the final rank of this talent, Mind Blast will extend the duration of Void Eruption by up to 3 seconds, and Mind Flay ticks increase the periodic damage increased by Void Eruption by 3%. But here's the thing, it's up to 10 times, man. 30% more periodic damage from Void Eruption just by using Mind Flay. And remember, you can keep using Mind Blast with Darkness because you can reset the cooldown of Mind Blast with a Shadow Word Pain. And so that means that's even crazier because you're going to be able to get off a lot of Shadow Word Pains with the Void Eruption. It's really, really synergistic. All right, so let's try this again real quick. Obviously, everything might die, yes, but let's go for a Shadow Word Pain there. And look at the damage. A 9. Maybe the buff had to be on me. Maybe it's not one of those things where it's like you just have the buff, then you apply it and you do more damage. Okay, we have a 27. I just buffed up my Shadow Word Pain. I just want to see if maybe it was too low of a rank for any significant stuff to be seen. So if it was oh my god, look at this. You can click the tree. That's really, really sick, dude. Holy crap. Elwyn tree, freaking cuttable in World of Warcraft. Never thought I would see that in my life. Okay, anyway, Void Eruption. Nice. Now quickly, Shadow Word Pain. More than 27, 32. There we go. So it does work. Okay, that is freaking awesome, guys. So that is every single ability. And first of all, like, what does Void Eruption actually go with? Okay, so first thing, like, maybe Whisper of the Old Gods comes back. That's definitely Shadow Word Pain oriented. And what you can do is it says damage from Shadow Word Pain has a chance to summon a tentacle, but you can summon like 10 of these now because you could put this on 10 people with Void Eruption. And this has Mind Flay synergy as well, I believe. At least by lieu of the fact that Mind Flay is going to be good for Darkness, which procs the Mind Blast, which is going to give you more Shadow Word Pains, and more Mind Blast also gives you more Void Eruption synergy. So, but there's other things as well, like Curse of Aragorn right off the bat. That definitely is a Mind Flayer, so that could see a lot more. That was already a super good spec. I'm not sure if that got nerfed or if people just like quit playing it and it fell out of favor, but I remember when Season 8 first came out that this turned out to be a really, really good spec in both PvE and PvP, by the way, interestingly enough. Now, this actually does require the use of Mind Flay, so this could be good as well because you just keep increasing the periodic damage of your Shadow Priest abilities. You keep up the Curse of Agony, and you just go for Devouring Plague and Shadow Word Pain. So in my mind, this is really, really strong. Something like Impending Doom, so that when you Mind Blast, you get another 20% more periodic shadow damage increase. I mean, that's going to be ridiculous. So I actually think that Shadow Priest is going to make a bit of a comeback as well. It's just going to get way stronger overall. Void Eruption just seems super strong, dude. Okay, so essentially I wanted to go over all of the new abilities in this video, show them all to you guys, go over some synergies and stuff like that so you have things to think about. And now that you've actually seen it, maybe you can see some different synergies that maybe I didn't point out. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any in mind. What I want to do though is go ahead and rank these in terms of just raw, like, what do I think? First impressions, how good are they? Now, what I want to say is just because something ends up being like on the bottom of my tier list right now, that doesn't mean that it's garbage. The fact of the matter is, all of these are just really, really good. But I'm going to say that my tier list is going to be a combination of genuinely strong with the ability, like objectively strong, but also excitement level, where I see them placed right now using currently existing builds, and that includes builds that aren't good, but might become way better because of the existence of these abilities, as well as how long the cooldown is and stuff like that, because that really does play a big part. And I think the cool thing is because League 2 is going to be a really, really short thing, we'll be able to see, was I right? You know, by the end of this, we'll say, okay, was my S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier prediction good, or were some of these a lot worse? We did this with the enchants, actually. Might have been in Mal'Ganis. I was wrong about some stuff. I remember, for example, being wrong. Let's see if I can remember. Yeah, it was about Snowblind. I predicted that Snowblind was complete dog. I thought it was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, but there turned out to be some sleeper builds. It's been changed since it, you know, first came out, by the way, as well, just so you know. But yeah, like, I was totally wrong about Snowblind, and it really is exciting, actually. You want to be wrong, you know, you want more things to be good. Okay, so this is like first impressions tier list. It's actually really hard to do. Try doing it yourself. I'm not joking, but this is what I came up with. Again, extreme first impressions. So for my S tier, one ability, which is Roll the Bones. So to me, this is like an extremely, extremely bold prediction because I don't know how good rogue specs are going to be, but the fact of the matter is, looking at these buffs, they're extremely strong, and when we found out in the talents themselves that there is, in fact, aggression capstone synergy to keep making that cooldown go down, and how we know how easy it is, I think you should know, to just get to 5 combo points, spam an eviscerate or something like that. I think that's a pretty easy thing to accomplish. It's very possible this ends up being broken. One of the first things I think of is like pistol shot, right? Defias Gunslinger. So you're pistol shotting, you're going for the grape shots, but probably mostly the eviscerates. You're going really fast. I remember with that spec, you got to 5 combo points extremely easy. It was one of the first specs we played with Season 8. That that could be nuts, dude. And it's obviously, you know, innately synergistic in that regard. It becomes very interesting very fast, you know, spamming Winds of Winter, for example. But you also go for the Eviscerate with the White Walker as well. Going for the Blood and Guts for that Mutilate, Execute, and Eviscerate, you know, there's a combo in there somewhere. Let's see, we have Night of the Eclipse, right? You do have to spam a unique version of Eviscerate with this one. Relentless Tank, although I've seen people use this for PvP. Master of Shadows, same concept. You go for the Eviscerate often. All of these combo point-based specs tend to just want to spam 5 combo points as quickly as possible, and they do a really good job of that because you can use things like Seal of Fate. Where is that? Okay, right here. Seal of Fate, so you're going to go for more crits with like SS that are going to give you more combo points faster. You could even take things like Ruthlessness, which are going to give you another combo point anytime you eviscerate. People often go into Relentless Strikes, so you're getting more energy, which lets you get up to 5 combo points even faster. And then, of course, you have things like Honor Among Thieves for 3% crit, but also every few seconds, you get a free combo point, and that can be increased, actually, with enchants. I feel like it might be one of those things that ends up being used by literally every rogue spec in the game, and so that's why I called it S tier. I think usage has to be in here as well in that regard, you know what I mean? Okay, so next up, you'll notice there is a commonality with what I believe is A tier, and I put Meteor, Void Eruption, and Frozen Orb in here, and here's why. So first of all, let's start from the bottom. Frozen Orb, as I told you guys, I do think, out of nowhere, that this might actually be extremely good with Frost Bomb. You know, you're going to be able to throw out the orb, you plop a Frost Bomb on somebody, you spam Frostbolt, you're reducing the cooldown of Frozen Orb, you're doing crazy AoE damage, you're literally almost doubling that AoE damage, right? Because Frost Bomb was the synergy of this spec before when it comes to AoE, and it was still great sometimes. But now you'll be able to get that Frozen Orb damage off at the same time. I think it's going to be nuts. And because we're in free pick, you can utilize every aspect of this now that they have Water Elemental synergy, which it didn't have like a year ago that I remember playing it. So I think that might be nuts. And by the way, I don't think Frostbolt needs something like this. And so I've seen it used a lot in PvP. You hit really high Frostbolts in PvP when you have a decent amount of gear. So they're getting something they don't need for an extra little slow and damage. The only way this ends up being bad and I'm wrong is if I'm absolutely like miscalculating how much damage the Frozen Orb actually does. I'm at a low level right now, and it's just like the way it has to be for the sake of testing, but it could be it doesn't do great damage. But if we throw it out one more time, let's just see what it does on the wolf, right? That's actually not horrible compared to what we've seen if you consider it being AoE and it lasts 8 seconds, I believe. Yeah. So we've seen some higher crits like from the Void Eruption, but again, you just saw that one. I do think Void Eruption, the more I look at it, the more I think that Shadow Priest might just be nuts. There's a variety of ways to play it. Shadow Priest already had some really high damage potential, especially in PvP from what I remember. But this gives you more AoE, and I think that Shadow Form synergy, it's so free. You know, like the potential to say, hey, every 1 minute, I put Shadow Word Pain on up to 10 targets. Like, what the hell? Are you joking? And all my damage goes up as well? Yes, in fact, that is exactly what happens. I'm, like, spawning tentacles. Now, it's possible the legendary enchants are less good, but I'm talking specifically for Shadow Priest, but I do think Void Eruption's nuts, and I think AoE is king, by the way. That's why my A tier has 3 AoE abilities, the last one being Meteor, because for M+, and all the new M+ dungeons, you want big AoE. Now, at first, you might not have thought Meteor was that good, because a 40-second cooldown is ridiculous, and don't get me wrong, I was almost going to put this in, like, B or C tier, because I thought, it's really good, but you do have to wait a long time, like I said, to use it, and that can sometimes make things a lot less good. But then I realized that we didn't even see this. There's 3 talents that work with it, all in the Fire Mage tree. Now, Impact gives it a chance to stun, also increases the damage of it by 9%. World in Flames gives it 6% more crit. That's actually pretty good. Firestarter, though, that's where I thought things were interesting, because it's going to say, with the final rank of this talent, my Blast Wave, Dragon's Breath, and Meteor now make my next Flame Strike spell instant cast, cost no mana, and do 30% more direct damage. So then you say, oh, okay, so I just have even more synergy for going for that Meteor into a Flame Strike. We have the Dragon's Breath into a Flame Strike, Blast Wave into a Flame Strike. The Meteor itself is probably going to end up being really good damage as well. It is going to be split evenly among everybody, but the synergy with this, or at least the upside you could say, is that it's an AoE spell that's still going to be good for single target. Let's just see real quick. Yeah, that's the highest I think we've hit so far with any ability. That was 300 no crit. So I think there's something to be said about that too, right? Like the fact that, okay, it's not going to be bad for AoE at all, because not only does it hit really hard, but then it, you know, basically puts a Flame Strike on the ground. Molten Earth pops up in my head immediately, but almost any fire spec could just like literally say, oh, okay, I'm about to go for whatever I was doing for my AoE damage. Boom, I'm just gonna Meteor on top of that. But then again, it doubles down as solid in your single target rotation, where you just might use it anyway. I don't know if it'll be as good for PvP, but it might be because of that stun potential, and you could probably set it up for some nutty burst combos, so I'm just gonna take the risk and keep it in A tier. Okay, so B tier and C tier are gonna have a lot, right? So in B B tier, I start off by putting Divine Star in here. I actually really like this ability. We can look at it one more time, so tossing it out. But it is like you have to throw it forward. People actually have to be there. It does hit multiple times and boomerangs back, though. And it's actually on a super, super low cooldown. So I think in, like, structured raids, that's going to be a lot better for pugs. You know, you're going to have to take your risks. Now, there are a couple talents that work with this, but they just increase the straight-up healing of it. It's nothing, like, about, you know, lowering cooldowns or whatever. And typically, that's where you can really see if you can abuse it as far as I can see. It's going to be really good for healers, though. I do think it's good. That's why it is in B tier. The next one was Mass Invisibility. And I do know this is good, guys. But it's only a 5-second duration. And it doesn't excite me, even though the fact that, you know, you'll be able to use it and skip stuff in M+ really, really easily. Could be kind of nutty for BGs as well. You just never know. But it is a short duration and a really long cooldown, as it should be. So I'm going to just say it's a B tier. Now, the next one I put here was Flame Ascendance. And the only reason it's in B tier is because I don't know how to actually quantify this. The first thing that stands out to me is that it's on a really, really long cooldown. And as we saw, there was no way to reduce that cooldown. It might just shine in PvP, though. Lava Beam seems to be good damage, just period. Like I said, I mean, look at it real quick, right? All right, Lava Beam on this. 459 crit. That's a pretty high crit. I mean, even for single target. So between that and tossing out the lava burst like crazy, that could be good. And as we mentioned, there's actually some Flame Shock AoE synergy with Elemental Lord. I think the problem with Flame Ascendance is that it's just really general, right? So you could also put this in all sorts of fire specs if you wanted to build around the shaman aspect. It's also possible Lava Beam might work with some interesting Chain Lightning enchants, right? So if you just look Chain Lightning up, the first thing that stands out to me would have been, is it Lightning Strikes twice? No, wait. Yeah, remove the cooldown of Chain Lightning, which might work with Lava Beam, and then you're just spamming Lava Beams, and it could be crazy, but still, it's on a 2-minute cooldown, and so I think it's going to be more of a bursty thing. Whether it's worth it in PvE is to be seen. I think it will be. It could be really good in PvP, though, so I'm going to stick it in B tier. Okay, so the next two we have, it's Cloudburst Totem and the Restoration Shaman Tree. Let's go ahead and grab that. The first one, or one of the first ones we looked at, and then same concept, right? Because we have Angelic Feather. Now, people are going to probably think, Angelic Feather, why is that there? Because I think it's going to be really good for PvP. It was really good in Cataclysm PvP. If people used it right, it's great for flag capping, which is just fun. And I know people think, oh, BGs, who gives a crap about flag capping? Well, I do. I enjoy BGs. Some people really like it. It could be solid, though, for multi-team-based arena. Although, I don't know, Ascension's meta might be crazy degenerate, but it could be the case that speeding up your allies like that, and it should be the case, I think, is really, really solid. It's really, really good. And, again, it has that dual purpose of being usable on you or your allies, which I think is not a joke. Now, for PvE, it's basically useless outside of the fact that maybe in Mythic Plus you can go a little bit faster, and you might think that doesn't matter, but some of these guys that are really good at M+, they do want that type of stuff. They want to go as fast as humanly possible. I mean, people would take Aspect of the Pack at certain points, and they would just run through the M+, so I can't see why they might not go for the Angelic Feather if it starts stacking with some of those other things as well, and it might. I can't see. In fact, we could check that real quick. So Aspect of the Pack, well, let's see, I'm going pretty fast right now, 30%. All right, now we have a Feather. Do I go even faster? You'll be able to tell. Yes, you do. So, see what I'm saying? So everybody can hop on that Feather if the guy uses it properly and you stay bunched up. It's possible it works, it's possible it doesn't, but that's why I'm sticking it in B tier, because I think it's very, very general. I think it's one of those less flashy abilities, but surprisingly not that bad. Although I could be wrong and this could be D tier. It's one of those, you know what I mean? And lastly, Cloudburst Totem. You have to understand I'm not a healing main, as well, some of you, most of you should know. And so the thing is, it's really hard for me to rate something like this. If you remember correctly, you just spam single target heals while you have the totem out, and then it either dissipates on its own, or you release it on your own, and then 30% of all the single target nature healing you did will go to everybody, but it's divided evenly. Now, that sounds like, well, that can't possibly be that good if you think about it, but then if you think about it again, you're like, oh, people can actually get ridiculous single target heals, especially with things like Healing Wave or Healing Touch. So the potential of this is high, but then the bigger thing is that it's only on a 1-minute cooldown, which is kind of long compared to many of these. And the only thing I don't like about it also is that you have to predict it really perfectly, right? Because healers have a really weird way of competing with each other, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna Cloudburst Totem, guys, it's gonna be okay. But then, like, everybody else just, like, fights for the HP bars. And so it could be that literally nobody gets healed by Cloudburst Totem. However, in structured stuff, in raiding with progression, where somebody says, hey, buddy, there's a big mechanic coming up, everybody's going to get chunked, I'm going to Cloudburst right before that and go for a massive heal, and they could plan it out. Maybe this is C tier, you know what I mean? Maybe it's C tier, but I'm going to stick it in B tier because I think the potential is quite high. It's also important to keep in mind that if we're talking PvP, this is not going to be seen very often in BGs, right? So you're, you know, spamming on one guy, healing the hell out of him, you Cloudburst Totem first, and then suddenly everybody in the BG on your team goes to full HP. That's where I think you might see this really shine. I think that's why they ended up changing the efficacy of healing as well. Check that out in my patch notes video, basically. So, okay, Cloudburst Totem and all that jazz, that's B tier. Moving on to the lower tiers. The first one you might be surprised by because I put Sundering in there, and Sundering on retail is really, really good because I also play Enhancement Shaman, so I'm not just, you know, putting it there because I don't know what I'm talking about. No, the real reason it's there, I think, is because it could possibly be bugged right now. But for me, the idea is that if it's not bugged, this is really, really, really weak. First of all, it did really awful damage on that wolf, but let's just see on the squirrel. 13 damage. So the damage is extremely low compared to the other things we've seen so far. Might scale better though, that's what I'm trying to say, and that would change my rating, but it's only on a 30-second cooldown with talent, and it's only a 2.5-second incapacitate, which on retail might actually be a lot better, but on Ascension, where you could pick whatever you want, is actually a lot less impressive. So I don't even think it's that good, to be honest with you, and I think that's pretty fair. Now, next up, we have Light of Dawn, which I know I said I really like this ability, and the thing is, I do. I take no pride in putting it here, and the reason Divine Star is higher than this is simply because you have to be really close to everybody for this to work. 15 yards. Now, it might still end up being ridiculous though, because it did have talent synergy, and so people might be able to bunch up, and maybe for pugs it's less good, but it's potentially not bad for structured PvE, for Mythic Plus specifically, and for PvP. There are quite a few talents that increase the crit, that are actually going to increase the total healing efficacy of it, and that's pretty good, but I guess it just felt kind of mid to me, because at least with Divine Star, you have more range on it, and it actually goes twice as well. I want to be wrong though, because I really love this ability, but I put it in C tier. Again, the melee part of it, that's the problem. And also, I bet you because it's conal, there are going to be times you think you used it and you thought you hit them, but it didn't actually work. Not too indifferent from Cone of Cold sometimes. Also, I just realized the tanking skill card guy in the human zone is no longer an orc. Wow, and same thing for the healing guy. That's actually a small thing, but really good for immersion. Okay, the last two for C tier. First of all, we have Flourish. Now, the reason I'm putting Flourish in C tier is because it's just kind of underwhelming to me. It's not that it's not good. We saw it go good with the Riptide, for example, and it like completely obviously doubled the healing of it. So if I Riptide myself, you see the hot portion of it is a 81, and then I Flourish, and the hot portion of it is 162, literally double. That's pretty good, and probably going to be better for PvP, if I have to be honest, because I don't know if, like, hot guys are, like, actually flourishing their tanks. Like, I feel like, I mean, maybe with the new healing changes, it'll change everything, and that's the thing. I can't really predict that, because healing is being changed to where it's going to be less about burst healing and more about slow, incremental healing, at least based on the article. So it could be Flourish and hot, so you're just going to make a comeback in that regard outside of PvP. But the fact of the matter is, because I can't figure that out off the bat, because we actually have to play in League 4, the way I perceive this is that it's just kind of meh. It's 15 seconds though, which is a really awesome cooldown. The effect is extremely strong, like I said, but if somebody just greater heals through it, doesn't even matter, right? Because it only lasts 4 seconds. Again, for PvP though, probably quite good. Lastly though, we have Grappling Hook. I put this in C tier because I think the only way Grappling Hook is good is if you use it the way I told you to use it, which is with momentum, right? So you increase all rogue ability damage by 10% for 8 seconds, but remember, that's on a really long cooldown to begin with. I mean, 40 seconds? I don't know, dude. But yeah, the reason I'm putting it in C tier is because you can't use it on as many crazy locations as you thought. I don't think it's literally... What the hell? This guy's called Mcdouble Down. What are the odds of seeing a guy on the test realm called Mcdouble Down? But anyway, though, you can't use it on as many things as you were kind of hoping for, but you can use it on some decent stuff. Like, I can use it on top of this, and so that's like a small thing, but it's going to be fun, but I don't see it being used almost ever compared to like a lot of the other gap closing abilities. There could be some skippy stuff that I'm not seeing, especially for M+, but with mass invisibility in the game, it's like, who really cares? It's still cool, though, and it's still 10% more damage with rogue abilities, maybe with Roll the Bones, and you're literally playing Rogue Outlaw from retail now. Still, though, I put it in C tier. And then we get to D tier, and I'm not saying on D tier that these are bad abilities. Remember, not overall. This is comparing all of them to kind of each other and what to be excited for. I start off with Ironfur because I just don't like bears, man. I just don't. I never have. That's not the only reason. I just think it's kind of like underwhelming. All right, first of all, were there any talents I missed with Ironfur? No, and that's another thing too, right? Like, I mean, here's the thing. A good bear player might chime in and say, oh, by the way, Mcdoubles, bear really needed the extra reduced damage. And then I would say, oh, now that I have that knowledge, maybe this is B tier or something like that on the overall. But the fact of the matter is, it's 4% reduced damage taken, which is basically irrelevant. And then on that last second, you're going to get 8%. And then on the last second of that, you're going to get 12%. And by then, you'll have another charge. So it's very possible that you keep this up indefinitely indefinitely. That might actually be the case, at least to some varying degree, but let's pretend for a second you can, because 10-second recharge, but theoretically 18-second total duration. So if you use it right, it might be indefinite. In that regard, you could say it's 12% baseline damage reduction, which is really good. It actually is. It's like a free bark skin all the time. There is some setup though. It does start off weak, and it's also just for bears, right? Like just for bear tanks. You could say maybe it's going to be good in PvP, but I think everybody would say, I hope to God it's not. Nobody likes bears in PvP. It's cancer. So again, I think D tier is just fair. It doesn't mean it's bad. I just think it's fair compared to everything else, right? And the last one I put in D tier was actually Gloomblade, because I was super underwhelmed by this. I'm not necessarily putting it in D tier because the animation didn't fit it. I'm putting it in D tier because even though I talked it up, as I got to the other abilities, I realized that this was actually just not one of the coolest ones. Look, it's extra shadow damage after you use it for 8 seconds, and based on that, it could be really strong. You know, like I'll pick it one more time and I'll just see real quick after I use it if that extra shadow damage feels like a lot. But if it's like a 10 or something, I don't know. I think one of the arguments for why this could be good is that it's a rogue based ability and it goes with a bunch of this other good stuff. But let's see, I'll use it one more time, and there we go. Now Sinister Strike, it hit a 10. See what I mean? So that's what I kind of thought. It could be super duper good, but it requires daggers. If it didn't require daggers, it would not be in D tier, because I would immediately recognize all of the potential for it, right? And it could still be incredibly good, like nutty, because here's the thing, it does shadow damage, and that means it goes through armor, and so that might make it great for PvP. It could be the case that you want to use Gloomblade with like an ambush build, and you want to go for something like Assuaging Shadows, I think that's how you say that, or you want to go for like Forbidden Technique, and I could see that. So maybe it's a PvP thing that I'm just not fully recognizing, but this might be the one that I'm wrong about really badly. This could be like a B tier one, or it could even be like an A tier one. It really depends. It's kind of hard to get right. It's actually really cheap as well with 40 energy cost, so you can go for an 11 right there off the up proc with the SS. I mean, it's not horrendous. A 20 right there, a 20 crit. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it on D tier though, and we'll see if I'm wrong. I'm okay being wrong, but that's what I thought. Let me know in the comment section below what you would change and what you think of the tier list. But guys, that has to be the end of this video. All of the abilities coming with League 4 tomorrow, what I would rank them as, and some synergies with them to look forward to. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. Major thanks to all the members on my channel. Love and appreciate you guys. There's gonna be at least one more video like this, going over new stuff before the game comes out, so stay tuned for that. And Dark Master as well, I believe it or not, is actually going to come out. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and sub. See you in the next one, and Mcdoubles out.